Hello guys, this is Joresh, the head and core of Pro 90 community. So today I'm back with this wonderful tutorial, the tutorial where I'll be explaining about object-oriented programming. So some of the students missed the last class because of the network issues or some other issues, I don't know, but yeah, so they missed the classes. That's why I thought of creating a video for those people who missed the classes. And yeah, in this video I'll be explaining about object-oriented programming in Python language. So let's get started. So first thing you have to know about Python object-oriented programming is what is object-oriented programming. So it's a kind of a paradigm in programming languages, and there is one more thing is like there is yeah, you can pretty much say object-oriented programming is a kind of programming where you actually make a classes out of an object, and in case you want to clone the class, you can actually clone the class and make an object out of that very easily. It's very easy to go and very handy to use. So most of the softwares or um, most of the program you write, it's like you have to use object oriented in order to make your program very concise, modular, and use it in multiple ways. I mean, yeah, so in you can see here the OOP is a programming paradigm and not a Python concept, by the way. So it's not related to Python. It's like it's there for every programming languages, and maybe Python is not good for object oriented programming, but yeah, so if there is a little bit concept and like little bit support of Python for classes and yeah, for object oriented programming, but Python is not preferred for doing object oriented programming. So that, yeah, let's get started. The most of the modern programming languages such as Java, C#, C++, and yeah, most of the programming languages, even the JavaScript, they also support these classes and all. So yeah, those things has this object-oriented principles. So basic principles which object-oriented programming should have is like inheritance, then encapsulations and polymorphisms. So yeah, what is inheritance, encapsulations, and polymorphisms? We'll be covering it up in the next slide. So let's get started. So yeah, what is an object? So guys, it's very important to know what is an object. So everything in Python is an object. So everything in an object has two characteristics. So either it has attributes or it is a behavior. So what is the attributes? Attributes are the variables that will be defined in these classes, and there are two types of attributes. I'll be explaining about that later. But what does the attributes does? You can actually define a variable inside the classes, so that variable is known as attributes. So now what is the behavior? It's like the methods or the functions that you are defining inside the classes is known as the behavior. Yeah, so what is an object could represent a person. Like for example, if an object represent a person, then what would be the attributes? Its attributes will be the age and address and property name. Yeah, so and so behavior: walking, talking, breathing, running. Yeah, so these are the behaviors for a person. For example, if we take it for a car, so car attributes are like it's has what its plate name number, and what is its price, and yeah, pretty much, and what is the driver name. So these are the attributes for a car, and its behavior, it's like you can drive it it's like running on a road. You drive it in a road, and yeah, and running the like AC inside it, walking. Yeah, these are the behaviors of these car objects. So yeah, that is what means by object. Now let's go to the classes. So in simple terms, or the in a very naive way, if I define class is like class is a blueprint of an object. So if you are having an object, you can actually define the blueprint of that object and keep it for multiple use cases. For example, if you see, we can create a car class, and you can change the attributes of the classes. For example, the car company, you can change it to the Ford, or you can change it to Lamborghini, or anything, like whatever you want to change. And with the minute changes, you can actually clone the entire classes into an object, and every object will be different from each other, but maybe similar. So yeah, they might not be same, but they will be similar. So yeah, so that's why the classes comes into very handy. So yeah, class name is defined in camel case. Remember guys, so whenever you are defining a class name, you should always defined is in camel case notation. So what is the camel case notation is like, as you can see in the camel case notation, the starting letter and the next word starting letter always starts with a capital letter. For example, you are writing here camel case, here camel and case are not apart, so those both of them have no space in between, and the second word, that is the case, first letter is capital letter. So that's what means camel case. Your class name should be a camel case. Okay, so let's go to the next point. So there are attributes and methods in the class. Yeah, that I have already mentioned about it. There are two types of attributes. Yeah, so this is a very important thing. So there are two types of attributes actually. So class attributes, it is shared by all the different object instances of the classes. So some of the class attributes which you can define inside the classes are actually shared to all of its objects or instances. It has instances of that classes that has been created. So yeah, so pretty much, I mean, that is the predefined attributes of that classes. And yeah, you can change it though, but I mean, it's totally common to the classes. And what's the instance attributes is like, it is the attributes which you can actually change it using the constructor or the constructor method. Yeah, so what is a constructor method? It's like when you create a object of a class, you basically call this constructor method, and inside the constructor method you pass in the parameters which you want to assign it to the classes. For example, if the instance attributes are like the attributes which you define in the constructor module. For example, in the case of the car classes, here the car company is an instance attributes for different type of cars. Like for example, Ford and Lamborghini, the car company differs, so you can differ the attributes. But yeah, number of wheels of the cars will be the same, because if you see for the car class, the number of wheels will be 4. So you can set the car class attributes of the class as a number of wheels. So yeah, that is pretty much you can say about class attributes and instance attributes. Now methods are functions which are defined in a class. So what are the methods is like, it's a functions that you call in when you have an object, and inside the object the methods are only predefined, so you can actually call the object and the class and the methods inside those objects. Yeah, so what's inheritance? What is the main funda behind inheritance? So we'll know about this. So it's a kind of a process by which one class takes on the attributes or the methods of the others. So for example, you have a class, now you want to create one more class, but you want to inherit the methods and the attributes of the entire thing of that class into your new class. So also you want to add up some more features or some more attributes and the methods in the new classes, so you can do that too. So that's what it's named as inheritance. So you inherit from your parent such kind. It also, the classes also inherit from its parent classes. So yeah, newly formed classes are called the child sub derived classes, whatever you want to tell. I definitely prefer calling it a child classes, and the classes that the child classes are derived from are called parent super base classes, and I prefer calling it a parent classes. So you can say child classes is derived from the parent classes. It's very handy and it's very easy, guys. So yeah, so it provides reusability of the code. And why is it very much handy to use inheritance? Because you can actually reuse the same code once again and again. So yeah, it increases the reusability of the code very much. So yeah, that's why people use these classes. That's the main funda why people tend to use as classes and create the library in classes and create the library out of that. Yeah, type of inheritance, it's a single level inheritance, multiple level inheritance, multiple level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. I'll go through everything in a single slides. So single level inheritance is the class is derived from a single class. For example, class B is derived from class A, so derived class is B and base class is A. Now multiple inheritance is class A is derived from class B, so class A is the derived class and class B and class C is the base class. It is pretty much clear from the diagram above, so you can say what is multiple inheritance means. So multiple level inheritance, that means when you have multiple nested classes. So for example, class A is derived from class B and class B is in return derived from class C. So here you can see there is a nested inheritance going on. So there is a multiple level of inheritance going on. So that's why it's known as multiple level inheritance. What is hierarchical inheritance? It means you have a hierarchy of this inheritance So here you can see class A, class B, class G is a multiple level inheritance, and another you can see class C, class B, class G is also multiple level inheritance. But in return, everything is in a tree structure, and everything is in a pyramid structure, and it's a kind of a hierarchical structure. So that's why it's known as a hierarchical inheritance. So it depends upon your architecture which type of inheritance you want to follow. So that's why this kind of architecture is known as a hierarchical inheritance. And then we come back to this hybrid type of inheritance, where you do every kind of inheritance whatever I have taught in the previous slide, and combined you tell this is a hybrid type of inheritance. Encapsulation. So encapsulation is very much important if you are dealing with some kind of very critical data, and you don't want people from the outside of the classes should access the data inside of the classes. So in that scenario you use encapsulation. So it is used to restrict access of the methods and the variables inside and classes. So for that, what you do, you don't allow the users to use the attributes and the methods instead you give them some kind of getter setter method, so using which they can manipulate the data inside those attributes inside those classes. So in simple word, you can see that attributes of the classes are kept private and public, and getter setter methods are provided to manipulate these attributes. We use double underscore before every attribute's name because it helps us to identify the attributes very easily, that these are the encapsulated attributes. So those attributes the attributes will not be directly visible outside the classes. Polymorphism. So so attributes for Javas and all, it will be different. There will be private, public, and all those things. So in some other tutorial maybe I'll be explaining about those things, but right now in Python we don't have those kind of things, so I'll be explaining on these things. So let's go to the next thing. What is polymorphisms? In Python, polymorphism allows you to define methods in the classes, child classes, with the same name as defined in their parent classes. So for example, you are having methods in the parent classes. Now you want to change that method. You want to do some kind of modifications in the method of the parent classes. So what you can do method overriding, where as you know, a child class inherits all the methods from the parent class. However, you will encounter a situation where the method inherited from the parent class don't just quite fit into the child class. So in that scenario, you can actually re-implement the method of the child class, and so that's where you do the method overriding. So these are the additional resources where you can go and check out the detailed information of these classes. And okay, since the theory part is covered in the previous part of the video, so we'll cover now the practical part of this sessions, that is the practical implementation of the classes into our interactive Python console, that is Colab. So we will start with opening a Colab notebook for our tutorial purpose. You can actually write your entire code into this Colab and share the Colab URL with us. So so we'll start with making a new notebook. Here you can see we already have many notebooks, so let's create a new notebook. Parallelly, I'll show you this Python official documentation of the classes. Here you can read about the classes and also have some sample codes. We'll run the sample codes and I'll show you how these sample codes run and what is the underlying principle behind this code. So let's get started. Here you can see the define scope test and define do local. What you can see here, the nested functions can be used, and you can do pretty much nested you can create nested functions and run the functions inside a function. So this is shown in this example. And the problem in this, you have to define what all things you have to run inside this function, so that's why it's not handy at all. So that's why people brought this paradigm of class object oriented programming. So we'll start by implementing a class. So a class, we can directly call this, we can create a class by this class operator, or the name of the class should be in a camel class language, camel class type. So just copy. So instead of running into Colab, what I'll say, I'll directly show it in here only. So class, my class, where you can see here attributes is defined. This is instance attribute, and it is common for all this object that is cloned from this class. And define hello world, return hello world. It's the uh, method inside these classes. So x equal to my classes and define init self data. So in case the calling this method means it will automatically be called whenever you are creating the classes, and whatever the parameters you are passing inside these init functions will be stored into your uh, I mean into your attributes. So yeah, so as you can see here we are using init, and in case you are creating a classes and you are defining this init, this will be run whenever you are calling this whenever you are cloning this class and creating an object out of this. So we have to leave the first part of the method as a self, because self is like the it's like the host of all the attributes. Inside self you will get all these attributes, and you have to leave that, and then you have to go with the real part, then second parameter and third parameter. Here second parameter is the real part, third parameter is the image part. So now you can see you can actually create a object out of these classes, and have the first parameter and the second parameter. So first real part, imaginary part. Now you can see here you define the complex number using this, and yeah, instance like counter you can define that. Yeah, we can leave this all things, method object, and yeah, these all are not required. Class as an instant variable. So this is the example of the instant variable, and this all and all I explained. So this is also an instant array variable. Whatever you define the instant variable, it will be that. And you can define the class as a dog. So add trick. So yeah, and random remark and all, this one are not required. So in the by looking at the previous example, you might get an idea how to implement the classes. So it's very easy. Just you have to write this class like this as a CLS, and then write the class name, and then define the init function. Init function is the function which runs whenever you are creating an object of that classes, and whatever parameter you would define after this self will be taken as the parameter of that method, and you can pretty much store into self, and self can be accessed from any of the methods inside that classes. So that's why self is used, and random remarks is done. So, and you can do inheritance. So you can see here we are doing inheritance classes, the base classes, and statements 1, statement 1 to n. So here's an example of inheritance. So class mapping, here you define the entire mapping class, where update is a private copy of the original update. Yeah, so yeah, and class mapping, subclasses mapping. So here you can see define update equal to, this is then overriding of these previous functions, and you can see here what you are doing, we are actually taking the mapping subclass from the mapping class, and you are actually overriding the previous update method. So that's why it is used. And class employee pass, you can use pass iterators. Yeah, so in this page you can actually get an idea of how the class is used, and by implementing that into your Colab, you can see how these things can be practically implemented. Thank you. I hope this tutorial is very much informative for you. I hope you will do the tutorials that we have already given it to you, and get back to us if you have any doubt. Keep learning, keep growing. Thank you.